having an issue?
Yeah, we're seeing like your screen, like your normal screen versus the presentation.
Well, that's weird.
The little monitor thing.
I don't know why it's doing that.
You mind if I take a look at it really, really quick?
Go ahead.
Okay, so that's showing that one.
Yeah, I had to go to the online version because the one I downloaded didn't download all the things.
Oh yeah, that's what you're saying. It wasn't matching up to what you had.
Yeah, it wasn't. So, oh, you need to, okay, now I get what you're trying to do, I think. Says the woman who is not technologically adept in any way whatsoever.
If you're going down to something I can understand, then you're in trouble.
I like that. Well, now you're seeing my desktop. Yeah.
Are we seeing no presentation? I saw it for like a split second. How about now? When we hit enter, I saw it. You can see that? Yeah, I'm seeing that. I'm seeing that. Someone send it? I'm not seeing anything.
I'm busy. And you're fired. When mom runs in there, I'm like, that's another three. Where's the three? Where's the three? Or she messages, I'm like, okay, you're gonna work it out. Where's the three?
Here's one, two,
What if you try extending? Do you think that would make a difference?
well, that was the default it has. You're seeing the trees on both? I'm not sliding into yours, I'm sliding here now. I'm seeing, nope. Bob's the other side now.
Is it because I'm online? Because if I have to, I can switch to the slides I downloaded.
It's the,
I mean, they're...
the lines are talk to each other. It's actually thinking of like three different screens.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to throw in the six.
Okay.
Does it have a number pop up? That's two, and you're two. I'm seeing all screens now. You got this one, yeah. So then I think we just need to tell PowerPoint to do things or something. Seeing that now in PowerPoint. Yeah, but she's not.
All right, I'm just going to stand in your way and let you handle it. You're fine. As long as I can get the slides up there, that's all I need.
I know. You can see it. I know you can see it and I can see it, but third one can't.
They can't see it.
Yeah, they can't see it.
And they probably would be the ones who need to see it, so, you know, this is the thing.
I just couldn't figure out how to see it.
If you go to the, are you looking to just do the presentation version or just show him what's on the screen first?
Well, I was looking for in the settings for PowerPoint.
Oh, that's Google Slides. I don't know if that matters.
What it's doing is presenting to the main screen. Do you know the way to turn on where it has your notes on this screen? Have you done that, like the presenter view? So if we can turn presenter view on this.
This is presenter view, I believe. There's only, oops, sorry.
You're outside with a hamster.
Oh, damn it.
And they make the most amazing little pets you could ever imagine.
Okay, so
'Cause in
there's
regular-
only present from the beginning and presenter view. Presenter view
Should
is,
just present on another screen. That's what I'm trying to. Because in like PowerPoint, you can have notes on here, and they don't see your notes on the other one. And that's a presenter view in PowerPoint. But in here, I'm not.
I have no idea.
How do we get that turned on? Why is it grayed out?
Let's see. Present to a meeting. Oh, that's nothing. I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's not your fault. No, it's not your fault at all. Yeah, I can. We'll get it going on.
Okay. Well, I apologize, ladies. We're running into a little bit of technical difficulties here. We'll get it straightened out.
Or we won't, and then you'll just come to each of our houses and do.
Yes, I will do a traveling road show, and I will do my little song and dance for you.
You know, you just say song and dance, and that is not going to be completely accurate.
Yeah, I don't sing anymore, so, and I don't dance well, so I'm not sure you want either of those things to happen.
Broadway production, just a little skit.
Well, I used to sing Broadway quality. I don't anymore, but okay, I'm closing this door. I can't stand the music in the hallway anymore. So. I think it's meant to be soothing, but I'm not really. We're ready?
Yep.
Okay. All right. All right. Good morning, ladies. We are ready to go, they're telling me. Woohoo! Yay! So the first thing I want to do is just tell you who I am, if you don't already know, and what I do. My name is Christine Shreve. I am the Director of Marketing and Outreach for Applique Getaway, and I also have extensive experience being Director of Marketing for other companies, and I write for magazines, and I do videos and seminars and all sorts of stuff. So I've been talking about the subject of pricing for a while now. And one of the reasons that I started talking about it was because pricing is a tough subject for a lot of people. It's hard to know what to price your stuff for. It's hard to ask for what you think your items are worth. There's a lot of issues that can come into pricing. So I figured I'd just do a little basic presentation to talk about some various aspects of pricing, and as my little pun on the bottom there, helping dollars make sense, which I have to tell you cracked me up when I thought of it. I gotta admit it. So I just really want to get into a basic discussion of pricing. We're not going to go real deep into the whole psychology thing, but I'll give you an overview and enough to get you started. So the first thing you need to look at when you're thinking about pricing is, what's your goal? And your goal basically comes down to, what do I need to keep myself personally set up? What do I need to make to pay my mortgage, to keep myself clothed and fed and all that sort of stuff? And then you also need to look at what your business needs to make, or what you need to make to support your hobby if that's what you're doing. What do you need to bring in? So you need to pay the electric, you need to buy supplies, you need to maintain your equipment, all that sort of stuff. And that's basically, I don't like math. I'm going to confess this. So do the math is not my favorite thing, but it's where you need to start. And what you need to do is just sit down and add up all your expenses, and you need to divide that number by some kind of increment that you want to use. Could be monthly, could be by day, could be by week. And that's your goal. That's the amount of money that you want to bring in. And the reason why we start with this is because you need to know what you need to bring in before you can start setting any pricing. Because if you don't have a goal amount, you can't break it down to figure out, okay, if I have 5 products, I need to price them out for these amounts to bring in my goal. So that's basically why we start here. Like I said, I don't like the math. I'm a writer, but math is important in certain cases. This would be one of them. And the other thing I want to say before I forget is that I don't mind questions at all. If you have questions at any point, just go ahead and ask them. You don't have to hold them till the end or anything. I like discussion. Discussion is fun. So we start with the math, because the math will give you your goals, and your goals are what you're going to need to figure out how to determine what you're going to price your products at. And we'll see if this is going to behave now. There we go. Whoops, now we went too far. Okay, determining profit margin. More math, sorry, but there's more math. What profit margin is? Profit margin is basically a metric that's going to tell you how much money your business is making. Profit margin is something that people are like, if you ever go to an accountant, or you go to any kind of CPA or anything, or even if you talk to any kind of business coach, they're going to say, what's your profit margin? And a lot of people go, I don't know. And that's not good. You need to know what your profit margin is, because that's what tells you if you're being successful and if your pricing is working. So it's more math, but it's pretty basic math. Calculating your profit margin, you basically determine your business's net income, which is revenue minus expenses. You divide that by your net sales, and you multiply your total by 100, and that will get you your profit margin percentage. So it's all in the slides, and there are actually 2 types of profit margin, you want net, which is your entire business. So if an accountant asks you, what's your net profit margin, they're saying, what did your business make this year, basically. And gross would be a single product. Gross is really helpful when you're trying to figure out your pricing, because you can look at a single product and say, okay, I priced it at this, and this is the profit that I made, and maybe I need to raise the price, maybe I need to lower the price. It's kind of a method of just fine-tuning the pricing for particular products. So again, more math, which I said, not my favorite, but it's vital math. It's math that you need to do, because if you don't know your profit margins, you're going to have a real problem figuring out if you're profitable. And at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be profitable. So, come on. Sorry, my clicky thing just does not want to behave here. Here we go. So getting to your goal is the next thing. And obviously the goal is more money, more money, more money. So what you need to figure out is, okay, I know what my ultimate goal is. I know what I want to make per hour. I know what I want to make per day. I know what I want to make per week, whatever your goal is. So then you break it down even further, more math. How many products do you offer? What's your cost for each product? And granted, your cost may change over time, because when you go a little further through the process, you may figure out that there are products that you can raise the price on, and there may be products that you can lower the price on. It depends. You're also going to have to look at competitive pricing, which we'll talk about a little later. And then what's the labor cost for each product, and what percentage of total sales do you forecast each product will be? Again, this is all guesswork at this point. You're just kind of setting a roadmap for what you want to do and what you think things will shake out to be. Now, one of the things that I want to say here is, one of the things that I say in every seminar I ever do, market research is so important. And it's a thing that takes time, and so people go, I don't really have time to do it. I don't really know how to do it. Market research is really easy, honestly. Go on social media and you can find most of the information that you need. And what you want to do is you want to hit your competitors and see what they're saying. What are they offering? What is their pricing? What are their customers saying about their pricing? All that sort of thing. And the reason that I say this is really important is not just because I'm a marketer and so I think marketing is very important. That's not why. But it's because there are sources of information out there that can give you an edge. And if you don't take advantage of them and do the research, you're not going to have that information. And it's information that can help you figure out what your pricing should be. So I really recommend market research. Don't be afraid to follow your competitors. Don't be afraid to stalk your competitors if you want to online. Doesn't really matter. The point is, the information's out there, and if you're not taking advantage of it, you're losing a competitive advantage for yourself. So that's my little lecture on marketing research, and I promise it's, well, I was going to say I promise it's the last one I'll do, but it may not be. So I'm not going to make that promise. Okay, so here's your thing. You have a scale of where prices are. You don't want to be where your price is too low, and you don't really want to leave profit on the table, but you don't want to be too high and not competitive. You want to find that sweet spot in the middle. Finding the sweet spot is the holy grail, basically. And hopefully, when we get through with this, you'll understand a little better how to find that sweet spot. And it's a delicate balance, because one of the things that people tell me a lot of times is, you know, you'll say, I charge $15 for a shirt, or I charge $17 for a mug, or whatever it is. And the first comment that comes from whoever I'm talking to is, I could never charge that. I would never get that in my area. And I'm like, well, how do you know? Well, I just know. Have you tried it? No, but I know that it would not work. I'm like, yeah, you don't know. You haven't tried it. You don't know. So you have to be aware that your first instinct for what you want to do when you price things is probably going to be too low. Most people undervalue the work that they do. So don't rely on what you think you should price your work at. Do the research. The research will help you figure out what an accurate price and a competitive price is. So a lot of people say, well, I price with my gut. I just go with what I think it should be or what feels right to me. And usually those people are leaving money on the table. And ultimately, if you're running a business, that's not what you want to be doing. You want to make a profit. Why else would you be doing it? So don't price with your gut. Don't pull numbers out of the air. Don't listen to people who tell you, well, if you embroider, you have to do $1 per 1,000 stitches. And if you do screen print, you have to do, if it's a 4-color design, you have to charge 50 cents extra for every color over 2 or whatever it is. Figure out the pricing that's competitive for whatever your market is and that makes you a profit and justifies the effort you're putting into doing what you're doing. It's harder. It's more work. It's much easier to just go, you know what? I'm going to sell this for 10 bucks. That's really easy. No thought, no effort, no nothing. But that's not going to get you what you need to have. And ultimately, you want to spend the time to do it right so you will end up making money and being a success. I'm sure you've all seen the statistic that, I don't even remember what it is. I saw at one point, I think it was like 85% of new businesses fail in their first year. And a lot of that is because they don't know how to price. So they're not charging what they need to be charging for the work that they're doing. And this is, I gotta say, this is kind of a crusade of mine a little bit, especially when it comes to women, because I hear a lot of women who say, I couldn't charge that much, or, it's just a little business that I have in my home. And I'm like, dude, it's a business. And yes, I call women dude, because I'm apparently living in the 1970s or something. But it's a business. If you are making product that you're selling to other people and you're taking orders, it's a business. It doesn't matter if it's sitting on your kitchen table. It doesn't matter where it is. It matters that you are actually making product that other people are buying. That's what matters. And yes, I went off on a tangent just now, but this is a crusade, and it's important because I think one of the problems that we do have in this industry sometimes is that women don't take themselves as seriously as they need to. So, sorry, rant over. I will quit being a suffragette now and go back to what we're supposed to be talking about. So, research is key. Remember when I said I wasn't going to talk about marketing research anymore? Totally lied. So, social media. There is a thing, they actually gave it a name, called social listening. And what social listening is basically going and following your competitors, going and following your potential customers, going and following your suppliers, and figuring out what they're saying, what pricing are they offering, what sales and specials are they offering, all that sort of thing. So you're basically taking advantage of what people are putting out there anyway. And it always constantly amazes me that people will say, oh, I don't have time for social media. I don't have time to do that. And I just want to grab them and lightly shake them and say, you don't understand how much information is out there and how much you can learn if you spend the time. So it's really important. And for your competitors, you really want to follow them. And for your customers, if you have customers on your page that are following you and are talking to you, this is like an enormous source of information. Ask them what they think about, well, I don't know that you really want to, well, yeah, why not? Ask them what they think about your pricing, or put a new product up and go, hey, what do you, if we're going to charge 20 bucks for this, what do you guys think? Or we're going to charge 15 bucks or whatever it is. Use that information that they will give you, because people will tell you everything, which just blows my mind. But it's such a valuable resource. If you have people on your page, be responsive, talk to them, cultivate them, and use them. And I mean, I know that's not it doesn't sound that nice, but honestly, ask them questions. Talk to them about your pricing. If they say to you, gee, I really like this, but I think it's too much, ask them why they think that. Explain to them, educate them, tell them why it's worth what you're charging. Because you got to remember, the other half of this is, customers don't know what goes in to what you're doing. They don't understand it like you do. They don't know that you're here learning about stuff. They don't know that you go to other trade shows. They don't know that you watch webinars and that you've messed up a million of whatever it is you make before you learned how to do it right. They don't know that. And if they don't know that, then they don't understand the value of what you're offering. And the more you can educate them and tell them what you do and what you've invested to be able to do what you do, the more they're going to appreciate it. And the easier it's going to be to say, I want 20 bucks for this item, or I want 30 bucks or 50 bucks or whatever it is. And if you market the products properly, you're going to get that 50 bucks or that 30 bucks or that 20 bucks or whatever it is that you want. So it's just a matter of talking to people. And talking to people is simultaneously, I can attest as I'm standing here right now talking to you, the hardest thing and the easiest thing in the world. Because you have to have an interaction. I'm looking at you all right now, and I'm looking at people and hoping they're smiling or nodding or looking like they understand what I'm saying. And it's a little vulnerable to do that. And when you're doing it in a business sense, you end up sometimes feeling like, this is really important to me, and I want it to be really important to you. And your customers are just looking for basically an economic interaction. They want to give you money to buy something. So the thing that you love and you're working really hard on is the shirt that they're going to buy and wear it to their family reunion next week. So you have to understand that relationship, but if you do, you can learn so much from your customers. And also, obviously, watch your competitors' pages, watch your supplier pages, and figure out how to be a local expert on social media with the people that you deal with. Solve problems for people. That's a great way to get the price you want. If a person has a problem and you can come in and say, you know, somebody's saying, I'm looking for a great giveaway for the bridal shower that I'm hosting, or I'm looking for shirts for my grandmother's 90th birthday or something. If you can be the person that comes in and says, hey, I have a great idea and I can show you a design and it'll be really awesome, then you're solving a problem for these people. And if you solve a problem for someone, they're much more willing to pay a premium price because you're making their life easier. So this is something that you really need to think about. And the other thing that I always say, a lot of people use social media, and if you're coming to my 10 mistakes that that people make on social media, you will hear me talk about this there too. They use social media solely for selling. They think that if I'm going to be here, if I'm investing the time, every post I put up and every interaction I have is going to be, give me money, give me money, give me money, because I need money. The problem with that is that's not responsive. You're not building relationships. You're not really doing anything except basically taking a bullhorn and standing on top of that table there and screaming, I want money! And honestly, if your customers are following your page, they know you want money. That's kind of the point. But you don't want to be the person that's always going, buy my shirt, buy my cup, buy my thing. Look, it's a thing. Buy my thing. Buy my thing. $5.99, $10.99, $12.99. Buy it. Because it'll turn people off. And what you want to do is build relationships and build community. And I got to admit, this is another, you're running into all of my little passions today. But this is another one of mine because I see so many people use social media incorrectly. And social media is about building community and building relationships. It's not about selling. It is about promoting yourself somewhat, but it's about also promoting other people and building connections. And if you can do that, you'll have a really good tool. And then when it comes time to say, I have this new great item and I'm going to sell it for 50 bucks, you'll have people going, here's my money. which is what you want in the end. So, your market. So, prices need to be competitive where you're competing. And this is another thing that people miss. They'll go, well, I was online and they're selling shirts online for $5.99, or they're selling, you know, sublimated mugs with your dog's picture on them for like $3. How can I compete with that? You can't. And a certain part of the population is going to go for the $3 mug or the $5 shirt. And it's going to be crap, and they're going to hate it, but they don't know any better. So part of what we need to do is educate the population. I'm going to keep harping on that too. Sorry guys, there are themes in this presentation. You're just going to have to live with it. This is one of them. So you want to make sure that your prices are competitive, and you need data that's specific to your market. General data, which is the stuff that the experts spout, you know, $1 per 1,000 stitches, or, you know, the screen print colors or whatever they are. That's general data. It's not specific to your particular market. So you need to make sure that you do the research. After you've crunched your numbers, you've figured out your profit margin, you've done your research, then it's time to set your final prices. And your prices basically need to be competitive and profitable. And I will say, as I said before, don't go with what your gut is. Don't listen to your gut. Don't listen to your brain either, because your brain will tell you, I can't possibly charge this much. If you've done the research, you have the data, and the data is telling you X price is the price, then go with that. Now granted, some prices will adjust over time because the market will tell you something different. But you want to go with the price your research is telling you to charge. Don't listen to your head, because your head is going to tell you, and your gut is going to tell you, I can't possibly charge this much. I can't look at someone and say, I'm charging this for this item. And I get it, because I have this too. I've had people contact me to write an article or do a seminar, and they say, how much do you charge? And my initial response is, well, and you know, and then I'm like pulling numbers out of the air a little bit, because it's hard to say, I've worked hard, I've learned my craft, and I am worth, or my services are worth, or my products are worth this much money. So that's why I always counsel, do the research, crunch the numbers, do the math, even if you don't like it, because then you have a solid basis. So when your head says, I don't really think I can charge that, or I can't possibly ask for that, you have something to bolster why you're making this decision. So, types of pricing. This is a little fun one. Charm pricing. Everybody's seen this. If you go to Walmart, you have seen this everywhere. $4.99, $3.99, $4.59. Basically, when you're pricing this way, people's brains are stupid. So they look at $2.99 and they think it's $2, not $3, even though it's 1 cent away from $3. So to them, $2.99 sounds cheaper than $3. It's just basically messing with people's brains. I don't know why it works, but it does. Psychologists somewhere have probably researched this and could give you the whole like psychological gist of why it works, but it just does. So that's why Walmart uses that price all the time. If you go to Walmart or Target or whatever, everything's like $3.99, $5.99, $14.99, whatever it is. So prestige pricing is the exact opposite. Prestige pricing is, I'm going to charge you $40, and people think that because I'm charging you $40, it's a better thing than if I was charging you $39.99. It's weird. Our brains are really crazy sometimes. I don't know. But the theory is that the round numbers are more easily processed, and they encourage reliance on there's value here. It's important. That's why, you know, people driving Lamborghinis are paying $120,000 for them, because, wow, that's a big number. It must be really good. I don't know if Lamborghinis are really good or not, but it's possible. And it's just, rounded numbers also feel comfortable. They feel settled. So it's like, I can make this decision and I'm done. So that's a good one. We all know this one. Buy one, get one. Who doesn't know this one? The problem with buy one, get one is that so many people have used this pricing that you have to change it up now to make it exciting again. So it can't be buy one, get one. It maybe has to be buy two, get one, or, you know, buy five, get the cheapest one free, or whatever it is. So BOGO is, I mean, BOGO we have an acronym for, and we all know what it means. I could have just said BOGO and you all would have gone, yep, I get it. I know that one. So the problem with pricing strategies is as they get more familiar to the general public, they cease to be as effective. So BOGO now, you do have to switch it up a little bit. Now if you do a creative BOGO, they can still work really well. But it's one of those things where if you just want to do buy one, get one, you're probably not going to get as much response as you would normally. Comparative pricing. You see this on websites a lot. You can buy this shirt for $10 or you can buy this shirt for $8.99. And people will generally go for the more expensive option because they assume that expensive means better. So this is a great thing to do if you do have something and you're a little like, this price may be on the outside edge of what my customer base will accept or will think is good. You can put that item contrasted with something that's a little less quality maybe, and people's brains, again, because our brains operate on ways that we don't even realize, will look at it and go, well, if this one's more expensive, it must be better, because in our heads, we think expensive is better, even though expensive isn't always better, but we think it is. So, but I like this option because it's also a great way, this is kind of a little tricky, but it's also a nice way if you have a product that maybe isn't doing as well as you would like it to do, you can use comparative pricing and kind of contrast it with another product that's pretty similar, and people won't, once they see the two products compared, they won't make the distinction between what's one and what's the other. So sometimes that'll work if you have a particular product line or product item that isn't necessarily moving as well as you'd like it to for whatever the reason. If you contrast it with something that might be selling a little better, but price the one that's not moving as well a little bit higher, sometimes people will look at it and think, well, that might be better, so then they buy it. Again, our brains are dumb. I don't know. Yeah.
I have a product, again, hooded towels. Well, I get this all the time. Well, Walmart's are cheaper.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I'm charging double what they're selling, but mine's gonna last 10 times longer. And how do you get them past that Walmart mentality?
Okay, can you hold on for just a second, because that's coming up a little later. That you had to know I was going to hit that at some point, but that is actually a really, really good question, and it's something that I have heard from practically every decorator I have ever talked to. But this is another tactic you can use, especially if you do sale flyers or on your website. Make sure that the sale price is highlighted. Make it red, make it bigger, make it bold. Do whatever it is that you want to do. And do one of those things, and I know you've all seen this on websites, where you put the regular price and then you do a slash through it or something, and then you put the sale price in red or whatever it is, because, again, our brains are stupid. So if you see the sale price and you see the slash, you'll go, it's a sale. It's a sale. I need to buy 10. I really do. And it's a very common tactic on websites. You'll see it all the time. But it's a tactic because it works. And if it works, we keep doing it. So again, and most software for most web stores now has this function built in because they know it works too. So, I didn't. Okay. Hey, it's working now. The psychology of discounts. I know there's a lot of words on this screen, but I tried to consolidate some things to make sure that we could get all the stuff in that we needed to get in the time we had allotted. So, discounts. The question is, do they work? They can inspire new customers to try your products. And obviously, we all know the feeling where you go somewhere and you feel like you got a really good bargain. And you just go, man, I'm so clever. I bought that for way less than I should have had to pay. So yeah, there's that feeling. There's the adrenaline that comes from that. People like to think they're being clever when they're buying something at a discount. They're not really being clever because you as the business owner decided to give them the discount, but for them, they feel like they found a bargain. And also, discounts can be a great way to say, you must buy today, you must buy this week, you must buy in the next 3 days because this discount is only available. And again, your discount doesn't have to be that big because our brains aren't that smart. All we find is, oh, it's a discount, and if I don't buy in the next 5 hours, I'm not going to get it. I mean, well, you've all seen it. You've been on the internet. You know, you see those little Facebook ads where they're like, for the next 24 minutes, you can get this for, and, you know. Yeah. Oh, I have one that follows me around where the guy says, I'm doing a writing seminar for the next 24 hours with this big important guy, and you can only get it in the next 24 hours. And then the next day it comes up again. I'm like, dang, this guy does a heck of a lot of seminars for as famous as he is. And customers do expect discounts. So that's the other thing that you need to keep in mind. As much as we might not like it, customers are kind of habituated to expecting to get discounts. The thing you need to remember about that, though, is just because customers expect them doesn't mean you have to give them. And this is something that discounts can often be a crutch, I think, where people are like, I'm kind of scared to ask for the price I really want, so I'm going to take 10% off, or I'm going to charge $1 less, or I'm going to make the price less than what I really want to ask for because that's good strategy. It's not good strategy. You're asking for less than what the work is worth, and you're asking for less than what you need. Now, discounts do have a place. Customers do expect them. They can be a great way to move merchandise that maybe isn't moving otherwise, or to solicit new customers to try, or also they can be a great way to get existing customers to refer new customers to you. You can say, if you will refer customers to me, I will give you a 10% discount off your next order, or something like that. So discounts do have their place, and I'm sorry, but my voice is going, so I got to do a little. And the other half of the equation, and what I was just talking about, is do you need discounts? Most businesses offer them. Customers are kind of habituated to having them. Now, I have to say, I worked for a company for 14 years where I was their director of marketing, and we didn't offer a lot of discounts because everybody else was offering so many that we just decided that's not our strategy. We did fairly well with it because I went ahead of it and explained why we didn't offer discounts. I went ahead of it and I said, okay, the reason that we're not going to offer huge discounts is because we have connections with a lot of people, we get really good pricing, and we can pass that pricing on to you. So our prices are already reasonably low. They're low enough that you're going to get a deal and we're going to make a profit because of our connections in the industry and the fact that we can get product wholesale. So we're not going to offer you discounts because the prices are already low. Take a look. See what everybody else is selling this stuff for, and then come look at us. Because we did the research ahead of time, so we knew where our price points were. Now, intuitively, you would think that strategy doesn't work. It does, if you explain it. You need to let your customers know, and I mean, that's not to say we didn't do the occasional sale or we didn't try a few things every once in a while, but for the most part, we didn't have discounts. And our customers settled in and they were fine with it. We just had to do a little spade work ahead of time and a little education to make sure that they understood why we weren't doing it. And you also need to know the industry standard. Now, we bucked the industry standard, I have to say, because we didn't do discounts and most of our competitors did. But if you explain it, it works out and you're fine. But you need to be aware, it's what they tell you. Before you can break the rules, you need to know what the rules are. And then break them all you want. But you have to understand what the standard is, because if you don't know that, you're going to have an issue. And like I said, if you elect not to offer discounts, make sure that you explain it. Customer education when it comes to pricing is huge. You need to make sure that your customers understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. Because if they don't understand, then your pricing's not going to work as well. So it's all about education. So, minimum quantity. This is another question I get asked a lot. Well, what should my minimum quantity be? What should my minimum price be? What should we be doing? The minimum quantity is basically how much you can make and produce in whatever time period you want to set up and still make a profit. That's just the most simple equation that you can get. What's the minimum amount that you can make? And also, what is the minimum amount that you can do that might be a competitive advantage for you? One of the things that smaller businesses can sometimes make a really, really good living at doing is the stuff that bigger businesses don't want to do because their production setups are set up to handle larger orders. So if you can do one-offs, if you can do smaller orders, if you can do quick turnarounds, then your minimum quantities are going to be different because you can do one piece or you can do 5 pieces or whatever. And that can be your competitive advantage. So minimum order quantity is going to vary. There's no hard and fast rule. Again, I hate to say it, guys, but there's math and there's research. That's basically what you got to do. You got to do the math and see what's the minimum amount that you can make or what pricing will bear. If you can do one piece and get a decent price and you can do one piece orders all day, do it. And then your minimum quantity is one piece. But you have to do the math and you have to figure out what with your setup is going to be the most efficient way, and you can practice your economies of scale and make sure that you're getting the most out of the options that you have. That's the important thing. Large shops with large production capability, they're going to have high minimums. That's just a standard. If you have somebody who's setting up screens for 75-piece jobs all day, you're not going to go, yeah, I'll break down all the screens and I'll take my press apart and I'll do one item. You're not going to do it. It's not going to make any sense. And as I said, smaller shops can differentiate by having lower minimums. And production setup and size will often have a big impact on your minimum quantities. And that's just the reality of the situation. If you have, 4 automatic screen presses and you have 3 sublimation systems and you have a white toner printer and you have, a 30-head embroidery machine, you're not going to go, yeah, I'll embroider this baby blanket for you. You're just not going to do it because there's no point in it. You're set up to do high volume orders. But if you're someone who has a smaller shop, who is working out of your house, and somebody comes to you and says, can you embroider a baby blanket for me? You're much more likely to say, yes, I can do that. And so your minimum quantity is going to be lower. It's really as simple as that. Rock bottom pricing. This is another one that I get hit with a lot. People say, it ties in a little bit with that, well, I can get it cheaper somewhere else. I can get it cheap. How do I answer that? What do I say? Which we're coming up to in a minute, but I want to talk about this first. Rock bottom pricing is basically, again, more math. Do your math, figure out what is the absolute smallest price that you can ask for and still make at least a little bit of profit. And the reason that you're doing this is so when the customer comes to you and says, well, I can get it from Walmart for $2 less, or, I really could use a discount because I'm a nonprofit, or whatever they tell you. You have a price already ready that is the bare minimum that you can charge and still make at least a little bit of money. So you don't have to stumble over figuring out what you want to do. You don't have to and ah, and you don't have to stammer. You can just go, well, I can do it for this. And they either say yes or they say no. But you don't, a lot of people, a lot of customers, and we love our customers, we really do, but sometimes, sometimes they like to go, well, I really could get it cheaper. I can go to Walmart. I can do whatever. And there are times when you want to look at them and go, well, bye. And, you know, go to Walmart, have fun, say hi while you're there. And but sometimes you don't, because you either think the customer is someone who's going to be a good customer, who has the potential to grow as a customer, and in those cases, a discount or reducing your prices a little might be worth it as a long-term strategy. And that's where rock bottom comes in. And rock bottom is basically, okay, this is, and I will say this, if you have rock bottom prices, and I do recommend that you all figure them out, you shouldn't use them almost ever, because you want to try to find a happy medium, but at least if you have a rock bottom price, you're avoiding all the, gee, let me think about it, or let me crunch the numbers, or stammering, or walking away from the interaction going, I gave them a price that was just, I'm not going to make any money on this, and I'm going to be working forever, and it's going to be awful. You don't want that. So that's why you figure the rock bottom out ahead of time. Then you know, it's all done, you're all set, you're good. So it's really just a way, honestly, to save yourself a lot of stress and a lot of time, because nobody likes to argue with customers. And if you have a rock bottom and somebody just says, nope, I don't want to pay that, then have fun at Walmart. Tell the cashier, well, there aren't any cashiers anymore. Tell the automatic checkout machines hello for me. So, you know, but it's just basically a way to save everybody a lot of angst over pricing. And it's also a way to prep you if you have a hard time saying no, or if you have a hard time asking for the pricing that you want. This gives you some ammunition. Because people will, in a moment of stress, because they just want to get out of the situation, they'll blurt something out just to make people go away or to stop bothering them. We don't want that. So you figure this out ahead of time and you're armed. Whoop, went too far. And when to offer your rock bottom price. We basically already covered this, but when your customer could potentially be a larger source of revenue. When your company is having a slow period and maybe you need to jumpstart things a little bit. When you're trying out something new and it's experimental and you're like, hey, I can do this for a little bit less because I'm still learning the process. So, you know, if you're willing to accept that, I'm willing to give you a little discount on the price. And big thing on the bottom here, I need a laser for this bit. Specify that your rock bottom pricing is for this order only. Do not let your customers assume that they will always get this pricing, because you know customers as well as I do. Once you give them pricing once, every time they come back, they're going to want that same pricing. Don't let them get in that mindset, because once you get them there, you may never get them out. And if you can't get them out, you're not making the money you should be making. So communicating your pricing. Lots of words here again, I know. Basic way to communicate. The key word here, honestly, is communicate. So you need to really just interact with your customers and make sure they understand why your pricing is what it is. It circles back to what I was saying earlier about educating your customers. You want to make sure that they understand what effort you put into education, to learning how to do what you do, all that sort of stuff. And also how you communicate your pricing will be dictated a little bit by whether you have a brick and mortar shop or you're working totally online, and how technologically savvy your customers are. If your customers can't get on a website, which don't even get me started on those calls, but woo, there are people who can't. So that can be a little bit, if they can't get to your website to see your pricing, then you're going to have other ways to explain it to them. And what's your industry standard? If people use price sheets and you don't use price sheets, is that going to set you apart, or is that going to make your customers feel weird? So it's really how you communicate your pricing. Basically, all these words boil down to, what do your customers need? That's how you communicate your pricing. You need to communicate it in a way that they can understand, and that may be personally, that may be online, that may be on a price sheet or in a catalog. There's any number of options. It's basically asking your customers, which is sometimes the hardest thing to do. But if you take the time to do it, then you're going to be able to communicate with them effectively. Common pricing objections. Here we go. I can get it cheaper from the guy down the street. I can go to Walmart. Walmart will have it. And honestly, I kind of fall in the category sometimes of when somebody says that to me, I'm like, well, you should go there, because if they're going to do it for you. But if you do a little kind of intelligence gathering, ask why they're not ordering from the company across the street. Figure out if they're price shopping. Ask them questions. Are they comparatively pricing to see who's going to give them the lowest price? Educate them. Explain to them what you put into learning how to do what you do and why that's worth money. And I mean, you can be that blunt about it, you know. And I don't ever, 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 I'm going to emphasize this a lot, recommend slamming your competition. Don't do it. You're not going to look good if you do it, and it usually will backfire on you. Plus, if you're in a smaller area, or you know, if you're in a town and there's only a couple of you, the word will get back to them, and you don't want to start a turf war. That's not good. So don't ever slam the competition. I mean, even if you know the competition is like the suckiest decorator ever, do not. I hate to say it, because whenever somebody says it to me, I'm always like, oh, you are so full of crap. But karma will get people in the end. If they're bad, eventually everybody will figure it out.
Well, like, do you tell them that, you know, if you buy that from Walmart, you're going to be buying several, these can fall apart?
Well, well, no, it isn't really, though, because in the case of something like that, where they're buying from Walmart, it's not a competitor in the sense of they aren't making them, they're getting them from somewhere. So basically why people are buying them from there is because it's cheap. Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with displaying your product. Have a product there and explain to people, here's what I do with mine. See the construction. Here's how it's going to hold up. It holds up through, 90 washes or whatever it is, and the Walmart won't do that. So this is why my product is better. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Yes?
On the dish towels, because I went into that, I can get it cheaper at Walmart. I went and bought a Walmart dish towel.
That's a good idea,
and
too.
laid them out together. And they
Mhm.
can see the difference then in the quality that you
Right.
bought in a dish towel or made, and the quality of the embroidery. Because those on the Walmart thing, they're tiny, they're missing stitches, they unravel, and it doesn't take long for the customer to see the difference.
Yeah. And that's actually a really, really good strategy is, like she said, just get one of the other thing and show them.
And I labeled it. Walmart, mine.
Well, and what we have to remember too, and this example is a really good example of that, is that customers don't understand. They look at whatever you make and whatever they're buying for $3.99 from Walmart, and they think it's the same thing. They don't understand the time and the quality of the ingredients, the quality of the components that you're using. But if you're a bigger organization and you don't have the ability to do small, then I hope she's not telling me we're almost done, because that's not good. Oh dear. Okay, so we're going to gallop through a few of these slides because we started a little late, and they probably have somebody who's coming in here at 9:30. So basically the gist of this one is explain why you have minimum quantities, and explain production queues if you have them, and tell people that you can't do it if you can't do it. I don't have a big budget.
That's the other one I hear.
Yeah. Well, you know, you can be really blunt. I have costs I have to meet too. I have to keep my doors open. I have to keep my equipment going, all that kind of stuff. So, and see what options you have that you can offer. And if you can't do it for what they can spend, tell them you can't. That's the way it goes. I'm sorry, you look like you wanted to say something. Okay, nonprofit, same thing. If you want to support the nonprofit, go ahead and do that. If you don't, just explain to them that you're not a nonprofit, and so you need to make money. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to support a cause, but there's also nothing wrong with saying, I can't support a cause. I can't, you know, I'm sorry, I just can't help you. And people will use nonprofits sometimes as though that's like a golden seal that everybody should donate everything to them. The problem is there are a lot of nonprofits and they'll all tell you that. And honestly, you could go broke just supporting the nonprofits. So, but you can look into barter if it makes sense for you. Or like I said, if you support the cause, you can donate your work and it's a tax write-off. So that's another option. But don't feel like I'm a nonprofit should be like a bludgeon over your head as to, here's one. Yeah, and I debated that picture a lot. But here's the question. Exposure is something we'll get hit for a lot. Can you do my baseball jerseys and we'll put your name on the back? Or, you know, can you do these hats for me and we'll put your name in the program? There you go. Well, I get hit with it a lot because I write. So they'll say, well, write an article for our magazine. And I'll say, okay, these are my prices. And they'll say, oh, but if you write for us, everybody will see your name. And I say, everybody's already seen my name. Thank you. I would prefer money. You know, and then they go, well, then we don't want you to write for us. And I say, okay, that's not a problem. But people will hit you with, you'll get exposure. People will see your name. People are going to know who you are. It's going to be really exciting. Yeah. Here's the thing. The value of exposure is the value to you. And in some cases, exposure may be worth it. If you're just starting out, or if you're settling in a new area, might be worth it. But for the most part, what you want to look at is how often are people going to see the work? Are they in your target market? And what would the work cost if the customer paid? And what sort of exposure is being offered? And for the most part, you will determine that exposure is not going to be what you want it to be. Okay, and I hear people knocking on the door. And a lot of what I've said here, we've already seen. Showcase your skills and expertise. Education is key. Show the customer what goes into making their orders. So all that sort of thing. And then understanding your pricing, you never want to fumble when you're explaining your pricing, and make sure that you practice your pricing, practice explaining your pricing methodology, and remember your rock bottom price. And that would be the end of things for today. I'm sorry that we had to speed it up a little bit, but like I said, if anybody wants the slides, just get hold of me. You'll see me around the show, and I will be, I'm sorry? I do have business cards. I do.